In this mini tutorial we're going to consider the very basic organisation of the nervous system as a whole, and we're also going to think briefly about the flow of information within the nervous system itself. So let's start off on that subject, and as you should all be aware, that there is a very simple flow of information through axons in the nervous system, starting off with information coming in to the body through the sensory system. So we have neurons which are dedicated to collecting sensory information in different modalities, as we call them. So the different modalities could be things such as vision, hearing or smell. Sensory information enters through the peripheral nervous system and then is passed on to neurons in the central nervous system, which process that information. So there is processing taking place within the central nervous system. And once that information has been processed in the central nervous system, we can then mount a response. We can send signals out through motor axons in the peripheral nervous system to cause a behaviour. So this information then passes on to the motor system. Now, as we've already said, the information processing takes place primarily within the central nervous system, whereas the collection of information and the dissemination of commands, i.e. the sensory and the motor arms, employ primarily the peripheral nervous system. So these are our two arms of the nervous system itself, and they themselves can be subdivided. So the central nervous system consists of two components: the brain and the spinal cord. Now, frequently the brain is considered as the information processing device, whereas the spinal cord is considered more as just a distribution device. However, it's becoming increasingly realised that the brain and the cord itself both contribute large amounts to information processing in the nervous system. The peripheral nervous system has two major components. It has the so-called somatic component, and the somatic component is involved with voluntary muscle contraction and very well localized perception of pain. Additionally, we have the autonomic part of the peripheral nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is involved in homeostasis. So it's involved in keeping the internal conditions of the body within fairly narrow parameters. And the autonomic nervous system also has a sensory function, but sensations arising from the autonomic nervous system are either not directly perceived or are perceived as being very diffuse. So so-called visceral pain is actually felt in a very diffuse way. It's not very well localized. The two arms of the autonomic nervous system are the sympathetic nervous system, involved in the fight and flight response, and the parasympathetic nervous system, involved in the so-called rest and digest response, although this distinction is actually way too simplistic. So that concludes our very brief overview of the flow of information in the nervous system, and as always, if you've liked this, please leave some feedback so that I can try to improve it in future. Okay, thank you.